请小心列车与月台之间的空隙。Please mind the gap between the train and the platform.
多谢合作。Your attention please. Please stand behind the yellow line. Thank you.
請企喺黃線右等候，唔好企近月台閘門。為確保安全，請勿將手或任何物件放喺閘門以外或者安全距離，切勿隨時動手。不要靠近月台。
Most unbelievable.
心列车与月台之间的空隙。Please mind the gap between the train and the platform. End of the Chengguano line. Thank you for traveling on the MTR. 即将到达，请先让车上的乘客下车。The train to North Point is arriving. Please let passengers. 请小心列车月台之间的空隙。Please mind the gap between the train and the platform.
往金鐘列車即將到達，請先讓車上乘客落車。前往金鐘的列車即將到達，請先讓車上的乘客下車。The train to Admiralty is arriving. Please let passengers exit first.
呢個係南港島線嘅尾站，多謝乘搭港鐵。海怡半島，這是南港島線的終點站，謝謝乘搭港鐵。South Horizon, end of the South Island Line. Thank you for travelling on the MTR.
交通線已經公平，共通時和高速嘅尾巴列車已經開出。 迪士尼線，歡迎乘搭迪士尼線。Welcome to the Disneyland Resort Line. 哇，还有几分钟就到了，我不期待在派对见到你了。
Look, you about to wait for the party, and we can't wait to celebrate with you.
呢個係最新嘅商業狀況，8號風球現正生效。由於要清理路位上嘅雜物或收受損嘅設備，都停設到天橋巴士過年。
A train to Admiralty is arriving. Please stand behind the yellow line and mind the gap when boarding. Please wait behind the yellow line.
往天水圍列車現在到站，請小心月台幕門，並先讓乘客落車，然後上車。多謝合作。往天水圍的列車現在到站，請小心月台幕門，先讓乘客下車再上車。謝謝合作。The train for Tinshui Line is approaching. Please stand back from the platform screen door and let passengers alight first. Thank you for your cooperation.
请小心列车与月台之间的空隙。Please mind the gap between the train and the platform. 路線720經坑尾村、天耀、翠湖和天榮，請小心車門。Route 720 through Hang Mei Chun, Tin Yu, Chetwood to Tin Wing. Please stand back from the doors. 請緊握扶手。Please hold the handrail.
เ
搭輕鐵觀光列車屯門發現號。歡迎乘搭輕鐵觀光列車屯門發現號。Welcome to this light rail Tunmun Voyager sightseeing train. 觀光列車屯門發現號即將駛入6號月台。嚟到呢條橋除咗可以打卡，證明你有嚟過屯門之外，仲可以。
现在是对呗，我念这个对不？
靠近车门，并请严肃紧握扶手。
算識嘅彈出嚟，方便唔使行路可以車身。係啊，我就要摸有咁嘅啲嘢。